Welcome to The Visionary's Journey. I'm Catherine Gillette, creator of the Hero Method and author of 2 books on the subject, and today we're going to be exploring the Visionary's Journey. Over the years, so many people have found this presentation to be inspiring and encouraging that I'm delighted to be sharing it with you now. You've probably heard of the hero's journey. It's usually discussed and taught as a foundation of storytelling. But even if you haven't heard of it, what I've discovered in working with the hero's journey is true magic that is the foundation beneath the hero's journey, a power that transcends storytelling. Because within the hero's journey are motifs and archetypes that apply to us all. I call this presentation The Visionary's Journey because I originally created it for entrepreneurs, small business owners, coaches, authors, and other kinds of experts. So if that's you, you're in the right place. But I soon realized this topic resonates deeply with everyone and anyone who has a desire to help make the world a better place. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Based on the feedback I've received on this talk, in the next few minutes, you're going to come away with a new perspective on your life, a newfound inspiration for the journey that is your life, and a newfound appreciation for what has transpired in your life and what is yet to come. Those might sound like big promises, but by the end of this presentation, they may actually seem like understatements. So I'm going to start by giving you some background on the hero's journey. The foundation of all hero's journey stories are the same motifs and archetypes that show up again and again across time and cultures. That's why I call them the ancient bones of story. This image that you see here is the first known written story. Of course, stories were oral before then. This goes back 4,000 years, 2000 BCE, to Sumeria, and it's called the Epic of Gilgamesh. We move forward in time and over to Greece, and in the 8th century BCE, we have the Odyssey. Move over to China, and we have a story called Da Yu. We go down to India, we have a story called Prince Rama. And then in the Middle Ages, we have the Arthurian legends. And during the Industrial Revolution, we have Alice in Wonderland. And then in the Technological Revolution, we have Star Wars. And all of these stories have the same motifs and archetypes as the foundation of their story. After working with these ancient bones of story for 20 years, I've realized that these motifs are not just a framework for telling stories. There is some reason why human beings throughout time and across cultures are attracted to these stories. And that's why we remember them and retell them even centuries later. Hundreds of years later, we're still creating movies based on the Odyssey. 40 years later, Star Wars is still a thing. And I firmly believe hundreds of years in the future, Star Wars will still be a thing. There's some reason why we line up in the rain to see a movie for the second and third time. I mean, we know the story, we know how it ends, but we still enjoy seeing that story unfold again and again. I've analyzed dozens and dozens of international blockbuster movies, top international box office sales winners. People from around the world, across cultures, have lined up around the block to pay their hard-earned money to go see these movies over and over again. Why? I believe it's because there is a deep wisdom and truth that these stories remind us of, that our deepest selves want to be reminded of, again and again and again. Seth Godin, the world-renowned business writer, summarizes it really well. The hero's journey tells something universal and sublime about the human condition. One of the stories that beautifully illustrates the ancient bones of story is Star Wars. Since chances are excellent that you've seen this movie at least once, And because it's such a powerful story that's still a thing, I'll use the original Star Wars movie, now called Episode 4, to illustrate the hero's journey for you. The first motif is called the Wounded Land. In Star Wars, the Wounded Land is a universe that is ruled by the Heartless Empire, and Luke Skywalker is a farm boy living on a desert planet with his aunt and uncle. Yes, his planet has a really cool binary sunset, but Luke yearns for something more than his life on the farm. He knows something is missing from his life. He's just not able to make any change. The call to adventure comes to Luke in the form of Princess Leia's holo message of, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." Now, refusal of the call is also a common motif. And that's what Luke does. When Obi-Wan entreats Luke to join the Rebel Alliance, Luke says, no, I've got to go back to the farm. But when Luke returns to the farm, he finds that the Empire has killed his aunt and uncle, and that's when he accepts the call to adventure. And his quest begins to become a Jedi Knight. As is true with all heroes, immediately after accepting the call, obstacles start appearing. Like all heroes before him, Luke endures trials and ordeals and encounters enemies, all kinds of people and things that try to keep Luke from continuing his quest. The elixir is the thing that will heal the wounded land. The elixir in Star Wars is the Force. And in order to become a Jedi Knight, Luke has to master the Force. Only by mastering the Force can Luke push aside the technology that's been made available to him, use the Force, and make that 1,000,000-to-1 shot that destroys the Death Star. And because of that, the Empire has been dealt a devastating blow, and the universe is a safer place. And in the final scene of the movie, Luke and his closest allies are given recognition because, in a huge way, the wounded land is now healed. And then we have the archetypes of the hero's journey. Of course, there's the hero. FYI, the hero is gender neutral. For example, Katniss Everdeen is the hero in The Hunger Games. Today's heroes transform the world. They heal the wounded land in some way, but they are also transformed themselves by the journey. So Luke goes from being a farm boy on a moisture farm to a Jedi Knight who destroys the Empire's coveted Death Star. And allies. Allies are the people who support the hero in his or her quest. Yes, Luke is surrounded by enemies, but thank goodness for all of his allies. Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2, and all of the warriors of the rebellion. They are all his allies. Then there's the trickster. The trickster is the force or element or character that switches things up unexpectedly. Just when you think the world works like so, trickster comes in and changes everything. As unfortunate as every unexpected trick seems, they actually serve to further the hero on his or her journey. For example, R2-D2 is a trickster in this story. He's not a good little worker droid. He takes off on his own, and Luke has to take a bunch of heavy risks to go find him. But because of that, Luke meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is the mentor. Mentors are there to support the hero in his or her journey. Mentors always offer helpful insight and advice and even magical tools, very much like Luke's lightsaber. Then we have the Shadow, which in Star Wars is Darth Vader. The Shadow is always the force or element or character that works really hard to keep the hero from achieving his or her goal. And Darth Vader certainly works hard to keep Luke and his allies from achieving their goal of defeating the Empire. Now I want to talk about the Rebel. The Rebel is actually a very special kind of hero. Many heroes, when they answer the call to adventure, leave their ordinary world. They leave the wounded land and enter a special world of some kind in order to continue their quest and find the elixir, and then they need to bring the elixir back to the wounded land in order to heal it. Think of Alice going into Wonderland, especially in Tim Burton's brilliant interpretation of the story. But the rebel stays in the wounded land and heals the wounded land from within. And I think that's actually harder to do. I think rebels are a very honorable and noble kind of hero. So now, as an example, I'm going to tell you my story in the context of these journey guideposts, and then I'll help you to see yours. Again, the wounded land is someone's ordinary world. It's just the world they live in, but it's broken in some way. Something very important is missing. For me, I was working in marketing communications, and I knew that current best practices, quote unquote, in marketing communications were broken. Companies were pouring tons of money into programs and creating content that simply weren't working to help the company grow. But I had no idea what the solution was, and I never thought I could possibly arrive at a solution. But more important than that for me, I saw entrepreneurs and people in sales and marketing using that broken system and being horribly hindered by it. The call to adventure came to me after 20 years of working with the ancient bones of story and the hero's journey. I had this exciting inkling that maybe I could use the ancient bones of story to help businesses create more meaningful connections with their audience that could then generate higher response to their content. And so the quest began. For me, that was about opening up to my fascinations, which happened to be the motifs of the hero's journey, the neurological research behind the power of story, and literary analysis. A bunch of other fascinations as well, but I couldn't imagine how any of that would ever be of any use. But I just allowed myself to follow those fascinations and see where they might lead me. In terms of obstacles, boy, if I had obstacles. I could spend way too much time listing out all the obstacles, trials, ordeals, and even enemies I've encountered, people who really resisted me bringing this revolutionary idea to the business world. But I stayed with my quest regardless of the obstacles, and over time the elixir took shape and became the hero method. I found my elixir because I kept saying yes to the adventure of following my fascinations. It's hard to describe, but it just felt right to keep following my passions and being open to seeing how my fascinations could all come together like ingredients for an elixir. And so one day I thought, what if I combined these mythic motifs with the messaging and writing I'm doing for my clients? And that's when the hero method was born. So I had this big fat idea, but the mastery phase was when I really honed the hero method, mostly by trial and error. Some things I tried didn't work, some things did. I let go of the things that didn't work and honed the ones that did so they worked even better. The mastery phase is also about mastering how you're going to bring the elixir to the world. I mean, if you don't bring it to the world, you can't heal it, right? Initially, I brought the hero method to the corporate world because that was the world I knew. So I did one-to-one consulting work with high-level folks at companies like Amazon and Microsoft and Dell. But when I decided to bring the hero method to small businesses and solopreneurs, I had to completely change my delivery system, so to speak. I had to master a one-to-many model so I could bring the hero method to a wider audience. That was all part of the mastery phase for me. As you may remember, my wounded land was a world where best practices marketing communications is broken. Companies were pouring tons of money into creating content that simply wasn't working to help the company grow. By using the ancient bones of story to help businesses create more meaningful, authentic connections with their audience, the hero method started consistently doubling response and revenue. So my world is now a better place. My wounded land is now healed because I am able to help businesses find their authentic voice in bringing their solution to the world. And in doing so, I have helped them all measurably increase the response they get to the content they create. Therefore, of course, my clients' world is also a better place because they use the hero method, because they use my elixir. And in helping them bring all their wonderful solutions to the world, the hero method is helping make the world a better place. In other words, I answered the call to adventure and began my quest to find a better way. Because I overcame the obstacles that presented themselves in my journey, I was able to formulate my unique elixir. And in honing the formula for the elixir and in mastering the way I bring it to the world, I have healed my wounded land. As for my archetypes, by definition, I am a hero because I am on a quest to help heal the wounded land. And I have many allies, friends and colleagues and clients who are all supporting me in my journey. Trickster has definitely shown up many times. Oh boy, I don't know which one to tell you about, which one would be the best example of this archetype in a real human journey. Well, the one that comes to mind is me losing my job and my husband suing for divorce all at the same time. Both were totally unexpected, completely turned my world upside down. I was terrified about what life was going to turn out to be for me. But because of that double trickster event, I ended up on a journey that led me to creating the hero method, to living in Mexico and having this wonderful life. If I had had, quote, better luck and Trickster hadn't shown up, none of that would have happened. And yes, my shadow has shown up throughout my journey, mostly in the guise of my own fears and doubts. I've not only said to myself, but I believed that I can't possibly pull this thing off, this next thing that I have to do in order to move forward in my journey. Oh, no, 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 no. It's way too big for me to take on. It's way more than I could possibly do. My shadow has been a powerful force of resistance in many phases of my journey. But having overcome the shadow so many times, its voice, its power has gotten weaker and weaker over time. And that's because my internal mentor's voice has gotten stronger and stronger. It says to me, keep saying yes to the adventure. And so I have. I keep moving forward step by step. I keep doing things that stretch me. I keep seeing that next thing that needs to be done. And I see the obstacle and I just bloody well get beyond it. Often imperfectly at first, but I keep saying yes to the adventure, and that keeps making me stronger and stronger. So I can do things now that I never thought I could have done before. Yes, I have external mentors too. Joseph Campbell, the discoverer, if you will, of the hero's journey, he was my first mentor. I never met him personally, but his work changed my life. And since then, I've had a number of mentoring coaches in this adventure as well. But the lessons of myth tell us that our most powerful mentor is within us. It is the voice that says, you have right now everything you need to achieve everything you want. That's Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice saying, use the Force, Luke. And mine says, keep saying yes to the adventure, Catherine. That's really the true voice of mentor. Now, as it turns out, my journey involves being a rebel. The hero method is a true paradigm shift that turns current best practices, marketing communications on its head. That's why when I was in the corporate world, I got a ton of pushback. I got the equivalent of, that's not how we do things around here. I heard that more times than I care to remember. But that's just the sign of the rebel. And if you hear that, it doesn't mean what you've got isn't valuable. It just might mean, like me, you're just in the wrong place. You're just talking to the wrong people. So now the question is, where are you in your journey? My guess is, in some important way, you're at least aware that the land is wounded. You have a sense that there's more to life than what it's been for you so far, or you see how your world is broken, and you wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's something you can do to help. Or maybe you're pondering, that you're seeing how this is broken, and there's just got to be a better way, and maybe you can find that better way. You might still be waiting for the call to adventure. You don't feel you've heard it yet. Maybe that's where you are in your journey. And what I can say is, just keep listening. As Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. So pay close attention to your fascinations and follow them. That's what I did. I had a fascination for history, a fascination for anthropology, a fascination for psychology, then a fascination for Joseph Campbell's work, then a fascination to write a historical novel. And none of them seemed related. But they all ended up coming together as key ingredients for the Hero Method. You might also have an inkling from this discussion that you've been hearing the call and maybe you've been refusing it. Maybe you're saying, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not creative enough, or I can't afford it yet, or my husband would leave me. Even that is what I call being right on schedule. Even the greatest heroes across time and cultures have refused the call to adventure. Or maybe where you are is that you've heard the call, and maybe after refusing it a few times, you've accepted the call, stepped out of your ordinary world into a special world of your quest to figure out how you can help make the world a better place. If that's where you are in your journey, you have a sense of a direction in your life, and you're open to exploring new and different ideas about what your elixir is actually going to be. You may still be looking for something. Your elixir doesn't feel quite finished yet. So you're still open to learning from other heroes and mentors and allies. You're following your fascinations because those fascinations are guiding you forward in your journey and will guide you toward completing the formula of your elixir. Or maybe you're really clear on the final formula of your elixir. You're certain that you have all the ingredients and that this elixir can definitely heal the wounded land. If that's the case, then maybe where you are is in the mastery phase. You're mastering how to bring your elixir out to the world. This is probably the phase that takes the most courage because it's so visible. You're having to show up. You're having to show up with this unique gift, maybe fearful that nobody will get it, nobody will want it, but also knowing that if people don't use your elixir, nothing will change. The land will not be healed. So this is the essential phase of mastering how you bring your elixir to the world in a way that people will see it, they will resonate with it, they will receive it, and they will use it. Now, what about your obstacles? After you started the quest, what trials have you endured? What tests or ordeals have you overcome? You've maybe even encountered enemies, people who do not support the journey you're on. Yes, my husband divorced me because he was not supportive of my journey. Now, I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying that was a worst case scenario for me at the time, but it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened. So maybe you're facing an obstacle or two right now. That's all part of the journey. No hero's journey is ever easy. When you expect to go right, it's going to turn left. But as long as you're following the call, following your bliss, following your fascinations, with that sense that somewhere in there this could help heal the wounded land, as long as you're doing that, as long as you keep saying yes to the adventure, as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter how small the step, you're doing just fine. And perhaps you look at this and see that you've already finished a journey. You've already accepted a call to adventure that has led you to discover an elixir, and you can now see that your elixir is helping heal the land. So maybe you want to go back and master a new way of bringing your elixir to the world. Maybe you want to try a different business model like I did. I started out with a one-to-one consulting model, and then I created a one-to-many model so I could bring the hero method out to a wider audience. Or maybe you're perfectly happy with the business model you have, but you want to try new ways to bring your elixir out to the world in bigger ways, in ways that will reach wider audiences. Or maybe you see another way that the land is wounded, how things are broken in different ways, and maybe you're ready to start listening for the next call to find a new elixir that will heal the land in new ways. Now, who are the archetypes of your journey? You, of course, are the hero. You're the one either listening for the call to adventure or following it. Now, think of your allies, all the people who support you in this journey. Think of them now. See how you're surrounded by them. And, of course, we can't forget Trickster. Think of how Trickster may have shown up in your journey, and honor him. He's not just a pain in the ass. He's pointing out something really important. And if he hasn't shown up yet, he will. And when he does, don't let it discourage you. Don't see it as a sign that you're on the wrong path. Again, if you're following your fascinations and your passions with the vision of healing the wounded land, you're right on schedule. Be aware of your shadow. The shadow is the force that works to keep the hero from achieving the goal of the quest. And the tricky thing about shadow is that this is not an external person or event. The shadow is our own inner doubts and fears and desires to be safe. One of my mentors, Ryan Eliason, calls them gremlins. They can be very destructive if you're not aware of them. The shadow can hide and seem like wisdom. But remember, fear is never a source of wisdom. Fear is never a source of wisdom. And speaking of wisdom, who are your mentors in your world? Who have they been and who are they now? But perhaps most important, where is the voice of mentor within you? The voice that gives you helpful advice that supports you in your journey. The voice that knows this is the right journey for you, that you are following your call to adventure, that you have a unique gift, and it is your quest to bring your gift in the form of your unique elixir to the world, so you can help heal the wounded land. That's the voice you want to listen to. Before I leave you, I want to share with you some of the wisdom that hero stories have for us. Hero stories hold a tremendous amount of wisdom that they serve to remind us of. And I would like to leave you with 3 of them. Luke Skywalker had a unique facility with the Force. The Force was very strong with him, right? He was the only one who could make that 1,000,000-to-1 shot and destroy the Death Star. In The Matrix, Neo is the one. He is the chosen one, the only one who can heal the really wounded land of the Matrix. All heroes are the one for their journey. No one but the hero can do what needs to be done. Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games has unique qualities and talents. No one else but Katniss could have been the key to destroying the Capitol. And little Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings, no one else could have overcome all those obstacles in order to destroy the One Ring. The first piece of wisdom hero stories want us to remember is you are the one for your journey. There is no one else in the world who can heal the wounded land in the unique way you can. Another piece of wisdom hero stories want us to remember is that you have everything it takes right now to achieve your vision. Otherwise, you would not have been called to it. Whether you feel the call came from within you or outside you, either way, this is true. It may be the universe in its wisdom knows you're the one for this journey, or it's your unconscious, the part of you that knows you best, the part that truly knows what you're capable of. Either way, the fact that you've heard this call says that you have everything within you to achieve what you want to achieve. That doesn't mean the path is going to be cleared of all obstacles for you. What it does mean is that you have everything you need right now to overcome any obstacle and to conquer the forces of your shadow whenever they show up. The third great lesson these stories remind us of is your success is inevitable. The ending of every great story is what's called in writer circles inevitable. At the story's end, you can look back and see how all the elements lined up and the story could not have ended any other way. Of course, Luke was eventually going to kick the empire right where it counted, but he had to keep saying yes to the adventure. The same is true for your story. I truly believe this. In some important way, your success is inevitable. All it takes, just like every true hero, is the courage and determination to keep saying yes to the adventure. So I hope I've been able to illustrate to you how the hero's journey can be a kind of map for your life. And that if you keep saying yes to the adventure, just like all other heroes before you, you will help heal the wounded land. So until we meet again, keep saying yes to the adventure.